Star Trek. The Next Generation's reunion happened 14 years before Picard Season 3. When Star Trek. Picard Season 3 brought the beloved crew of the USS Enterprise D back together. Many fans saw it as a once-in-a-lifetime event. After all, it had been decades since Star Trek. The Next Generation TNG first aired, and seeing Patrick Stewart, Jonathan Frakes, Marina Sirtis, LeVar Burton, Michael Dorn, Brent Spiner, and Gates McFadden all sharing the screen again felt like a gift to longtime Trekkies. But here's the twist. The TNG crew had already reunited on screen 14 years before Picard Season 3 ever happened. That earlier reunion didn't come in a TV show or a big-budget movie, but in something far more unexpected. The 2009 documentary-style comedy Family Guy presents Something, Dark Side and its predecessor, Family Guy, Blue Harvest. Through voice cameos, conventions, and even animated parodies, the TNG cast found ways to gather long before Picard picked up the call. Of course, the more famous reunion came in Family Guy's 2009 episode Not All Dogs Go to Heaven, where the entire TNG cast voiced themselves in a hilarious convention subplot. Patrick Stewart, Brent Spiner, LeVar Burton, Marina Sirtis, Michael Dorn, Gates McFadden, Will Wheaton, and Jonathan Frakes all lent their voices as exaggerated versions of themselves being harassed by Stewie Griffin. In many ways, this lighthearted animated gag was the first time in over a decade that the entire ensemble came together for one project, and fans noticed. The wait of time between Nemesis and Picard. After Star Trek, Nemesis premiered in 2002, the TNG film series ended not with a bang, but with a divisive reception that made Paramount shelve future projects. For years, the cast moved on to different ventures. Patrick Stewart returned to theater and blockbuster films like X-Men, Brent Spiner shifted toward music and guest appearances, and others found steady work in television. By the mid-2000s, it felt like the Enterprise D crew might never share a stage again, at least not in a canonical Star Trek sense. That's why the Family Guy reunion in 2009, while comedic, was a big deal. For fans, hearing that familiar blend of voices, even in a parody setting, rekindled nostalgia and reminded audiences how much chemistry the actors still had. It wasn't a starship mission, no one was debating Federation ethics, and there wasn't a Borg cube in sight, but it was unmistakably them. Conventions kept the spirit alive. Beyond animated comedy, real-world reunions were happening too. Star Trek conventions throughout the 2000s and 2010s often featured large TNG panels. While these weren't scripted episodes or films, they became unofficial reunions where cast members reminisced about their years together. For many fans, seeing Patrick Stewart ribbing Jonathan Frakes or Marina Sirtis sharing behind-the-scenes anecdotes felt just as special as any canonical appearance. These gatherings reminded the fandom that the actors themselves remained close friends, maintaining the family-like bond forged during TNG's 7 seasons. Why Picard's Season 3 reunion felt different? So, if the TNG cast had already gathered before, why did Picard Season 3 feel so monumental? The answer lies in storytelling weight. The Family Guy episode and convention panels were affectionate, but they were essentially comedy and nostalgia. Picard Season 3, by contrast, gave the reunion a dramatic and emotional backbone. It wasn't just actors reuniting, it was characters. The season gave Worf, Beverly, Geordi, and Data new arcs, allowed Riker and Troy to revisit their marriage struggles, and gave Picard a final heroic journey. More importantly, it placed the entire Enterprise crew back on a starship bridge, older, wiser, and facing one last mission together. This wasn't just a reunion of actors, it was a reunion of legacies. The legacy of 2 reunions. In hindsight, both reunions, 2009's comedic gathering and 2023's dramatic one, served different purposes in the TNG timeline. The Family Guy version reminded fans that the actors were still game for fun, keeping the crew alive in pop culture during a time when Star Trek was largely dormant outside of J.J. Abrams' reboot films. Without moments like that, perhaps the appetite for a real reunion wouldn't have burned so strongly. By the time Picard Season 3 rolled around, audiences had been waiting decades for closure. That made the on-screen return of the Enterprise crew hit so much harder. It wasn't a parody, a panel, or a wink to the audience. It was the Star Trek family stepping into canon one final time. saying goodbye in a way they hadn't been allowed to with Nemesis. Looking ahead, now that TNG's canonical journey has closed, many wonder whether reunions of this kind will ever happen again. With spin-offs like Star Trek, Legacy still rumored and conventions still thriving, the spirit of the TNG family endures. But when historians look back, they'll find